It's mid-April, and so a common thing that happens this time of year is it can be warm and sunny one day. Yesterday was t-shirt weather just about, and then it cooled off and snowed overnight. So a little bit of snow on the ground. I'm in the chicken yard right now trying to get some work done around sifting compost for our potting up work that we're doing for the nursery, and thought I'd share some notes about sifting compost in the winter run. And then we'll do a little bit of a look out here. The chickens aren't going to be outside very much right now because of the snow, but we've got some really fun compost that's teeming with sprouts and worms. I'll share that at the end. So right now we've got some soaked grain out on the compost outside of the winter run. At this point we are not adding any more seed to this space, the chickens' winter run, because we want the compost to be moving towards finishing up. So for those of you that follow, you know that we've got this pipeline where we add food scraps all winter on the south end here and slowly move it north. Don't mind the hens, Sasha cooked them up a whole pile of eggs, so a bunch of them on this cold morning are getting scrambled eggs. It's a favorite treat of these hens. Anyway, the compost moves along, and then finally banks up against the north side. We've had some folks helping us harvest this out. They moved an immense amount. If you can imagine, this pile went right flush up to the plastic, so probably 4 or 5 yards of compost has left here for potting up plants. All of these potted plants that we'll be offering during spring and early summer were potted up with predominantly material from that winter run. So it's actually a significant amount of volume in all of these plants. And that again is a $0 material for us. It's the waste material after feeding our hens for the winter with things like leaves and wood chips and other resources that are available for free out there. And now what I'm trying to do is move through this next phase, get it sifted and aerated and ready to go. So I'm going to share some notes about how we're using some really basic systems here. We talked about this before with ramps to pile up compost, but this in particular, which I'll talk about now, really nice at making a good simple sifted compost. This is metal rack shelving that we got pretty expensive. I certainly wouldn't buy this new for a project like this at Lowe's and other box stores. These sorts of shelves are really expensive. We had someone who was selling these for $5 a piece or $10 a piece. The nice thing is they can be used for this for the winter. They're really sturdy. They have these rims on the side, and then they can be hit with a hose and used for actual table surfaces in the summer. You can see I'm just using hay bale twine around here to associate it with the top rail, and then it's simply just resting on the ground here. But this could be swapped out with all sorts of different things. Having this really steep angle means if I throw stuff on the top of this, so it's a little bit of lifting, so you could decide if you want this to be shorter or half height, whatever. But at the steep angle, really high up, there's a ton of bumps that the material goes through that it can sift out as it goes. So really strong aeration and a pretty nice tumbler, and then it still allows the hens at the bottom to have lots and lots of interaction with this, because we're not just trying to sift compost, we're trying to actually make sure the hens get lots of food and life value. But you can see it's not that big a deal to pile it up. The material on the inside, we'll take a look at in a moment, is absolutely beautiful and ready for really fine seed starting and potting. And this material has a lot of extra fun for the hens to play with. So whereas this shallow ramp gives lots of room for a little gentleman rooster to hang out and perch and do that, and for the hens to work through and enjoy themselves all across that surface, this really steep angle gives you really fine material underneath, and then a nice shelf here. Pretty much the hens stay focused in this area. They'll kick it apart and then we can send it through again. So they're gonna find whatever little bones and sprouts and nuggets are in here, and the material in here can actually leave and be used in the garden for sure. You can see this shallow angle system here that has all these gaps, nice big coarse gaps. What I've talked about before, and it still functions really nicely, is I can pile up a whole bunch of compost that needs to be somewhat sifted, and the hens work on it throughout the day. You can see underneath here there's space for the hens to go, as she is demonstrating, and from up above they can work on it. So this is a way to kind of make a pile early in the day and let the hens work on it throughout. So this will be relatively clean by later day. The material underneath will be slightly sifted and definitely aerated and integrated, mixed and the chickens have a lot of interaction points. So if you had things like this, pallets or whatever, that you can just pile up at a shallow angle and have material underneath and above, there's lots and lots of room for hens to play. For potting up larger plants in gallon pots and beyond, like trees and shrubs, we don't need to sift to get this kind of material. But for making our seed starting blends, a lot of times when we're starting tomatoes and corn and whatever containers that we're going to then transplant out later, we'll use material like this to fill the vast majority of the container and then cap it with something like a McEnroe light seed starting mix or something fine that is guaranteed or more guaranteed to be weed seed free. But this as a bulking material for seed starting or for transplanting little plants or acting as a beautiful unifying mulch is just so nice. So this is something we just leave like this throughout the days, and as time allows we take whatever materials around, dump it at the top, let it tumble, sift a ton of beautiful material out, and for the most part we're just letting the chickens continue to interact with this and get the remaining sprouts and seeds. That's a very high value thing for everybody, is to have the hens eat the rest of the soaked and sprouted seeds before they leave here, go into an air prune box and have an air prune box filled with sunflower seedlings. But you could do a little bit better than that. You could set yourself up for a little bit of better ease by having, excuse me ladies, containers. Maybe you set it up where a wheelbarrow can fit underneath this, if that's your context. Excuse me, slow tender. Keep moving. But for now, I'll just put a couple of simple bulb crates that are the same width as our compost sifting rack, and we can fill 2 containers while we're sifting this material. What's fun with this system is that as it banks up here, it gives, again, a lot more for the hens to work on when you walk away. This will go for hours as far as activity. They kick it, it sifts, and it moves down to the next one. But then by having a container underneath or a wheelbarrow, you can see it's like a gentle dusting of material. It just keeps coming down in here. This, once it's filled, could be snuck out of here, capped with a 1/4 inch of seed starting fanciness, or I could put in root cuttings of something and put it on into a high tunnel to warm up. I could leave it out and just surface sow it with a cover crop that could then feed the chickens again later on. This level of sifting gives us some really nice material. Maybe this is for potted plants that go back indoors. You can decide what you want to do with this, but the idea is you get really nice fluff while your hens have a really nice day. It's the auto sifter. You just have to load it and leave it, and it fills itself. Maybe not really, but slightly. 5 or 10 minutes of making this demonstration, you can see what the hens did with all these eggs. Absolute top tier favorite. Cooked eggs, if you ever have excess, or if you're not into eating eggs, you just want to rescue hens, feed them back to them, and they will be very happy that you did that. So 2 very simple, slightly different variations on a theme of metal rack systems or wooden rack. You can make this out of whatever material you want. Is it 2x4 welded wire that you screw onto a simple wooden frame? Are they pallets? And that's good enough. Very, very shallow, gentle angle allows you to load up a huge amount and let the hens have a full day of interacting and slowly sifting. That gives you good aeration, lots of interaction, minimal sifting, or really nice steep angle that gives you good quality sifting. If you wanted it so fine, you could get an even finer mesh, but this works just fine at this angle, whatever this angle is. Pretty steep, it's definitely 60 or more degrees, something like that, and still gives a nice pile at the bottom that allows the hens to work with. So the whole idea with this is, yes, we want our extracts from this that are useful for us, but we want to make sure first and foremost it's about feeding our chickens and making sure they've got tons of good physical activity that's meaningful and fruitful. I think that confers a lot of health and vitality and really good social structure. All these hens are engaged and active, finding fun things. They're not competing or being nasty to each other. So compost sifters that beget good social structure, lots of layers of yield. And you ladies, I'm afraid, will have to endure a snowy day once more. It's going to be warm in the next few, so hopefully things will be good. This old lady is just trying to tuck in for some warmth. She is going to be 10 years old in May. Happy birthday, old lady. It's actively snowing again, but I promised I would show this fun area. I'm going to do a deeper dive on this. This is back to our summer run with the snow falling on it, where we've been adding food scraps and lots of soaked seed. The magic out here with all the leaves from the fall and the addition of the seeds, every day or two we keep adding seeds. This whole space in here has become absolute worm and sprout heaven. This is just a random spot in here, but everywhere in here looks like that. After a really long cold winter, it's rewarding to see that with enough organic matter, people have asked us, how much do you need in order for it to work in a cold climate? As much as you can get. As many leaf bags as you can get. As many piles of wood chips or sawdust, bulk carbon as you can get coming into the fall. With lots of manure, lots of soaked seed mixed in, however much you can get, tends to beget this kind of inertia that is about as close to as ideal of a situation as I could imagine for raising hens, either for meat or for eggs. It's 10 cents a pound for the seed that they're eating that's been sprouted, just by having it interact with the material out here. And the worms were free. We just added them from goat manure 10 years ago, 8 years ago, that was loaded with red wigglers, and we've maintained the populations ever since. So sub $10 worth of material in this area will feed probably up to 100 hens for days and days and days with no other input.